Dear Alessia, 12/25/21. Merry Christmas, everybody. Pepper the mouse walked in the kitchen and glanced over the table salt. The lights were on, but all the humans were sleeping. It was Christmas morning, and the low hum from the fridge was talking with its cryptic tongue to the birds just outside the window of the Brooklyn dawn. Henry walked up to Pepper and held her eyes closed. "Surprise," he said. Pepper jumped and squealed. "You scared me." He laughed and said, "Merry Christmas." Their children were still asleep in the hole by the radiator, having dreams of Mouse Santa putting chews under the branches of the part of the tree that fell off the tree, stuck at the corner in the forgotten place, where the garbage and dust escaped. "What did you get me?" asked Pepper with a sneaky grin. "Some earrings and half a sandwich I found a week ago by the bin," he said. He handed her a tiny bag with the earrings. "They're amethysts," he said proudly. "They symbolize courage and perseverance." Pepper tried on the purple stones and said, "I do declare I'm the luckiest girl in Cobble Hill." "Come on," said Henry. "Let's arrange the presents for the kids before they wake up. I got Billy a dented ping pong ball and Marissa a bent-up hair clip. They're going to be so excited." They looked over their young with deep smiles. Both of them had done a good job protecting them from the trials and tribulations befallen all city mice in recent weeks. Work was hard to find, and supplies had dried up. Not so many scraps hitting the floor as of late. And just then, Benny, the town drunk, walked by. They said, "Happy Christmas, Benny." He said, "Yeah, what's so happy about it?" Benny was a cockroach. His wife was smashed at the beginning of last year, and Benny had never been the same. Lost in the sauce was the word on the street. Benny stumbled and wandered through a crack in the floorboard. Pepper looked at Henry with that sad, faraway look. I know," he said. "We are lucky." The radiator pinged and steam flew out the top. The kids shook awake and looked at their mom and dad, looking at them. "Merry Christmas," Pepper said quietly, even though they were awake. "Merry Christmas," said Billy and Marissa in unison. They were close as cucumbers on a fancy sandwich. Just then, a big foot came within a few feet, stomping like God, angry again. The kids stayed put and froze in the heat of the pipes. Pepper and Henry ran to them, hidden in the dark, looking up. The big foot came crashing down, and then another and another. They saw light from the fridge open up, and Henry stuck his snout out to see what was happening. "What is it?" Pepper whispered. "Looks like he's getting milk again." The big door swung open and light filled the kitchen. Sure enough, the giant took out half a gallon and drank giant chugs, closing the fridge behind him and walking off as sudden as he came. Boom, bam, boom, bam, boom, bam, boom. The kids, Pepper and Henry, all looked at each other and then smiled. Benny walked back out, slurring his words. "Was that murderer again?" he asked angrily. Benny had a death wish, but also a survival instinct, which would cause him to hide whenever the giant re-emerged. Henry said to Benny, "Why don't you spend Christmas with us this year? We have a feast built up of scraps from the holiday kitchen. Plus, we got you something." He lied. Pepper looked at Henry, knowing better. "Nah," he said. "I'd rather watch the giants walk back and forth from the crack in the living room. I'm too sad to spend it with another family, when knowing that I no longer have my own." "You'll meet someone else," Henry said, trying to cheer Benny up. "I don't want anyone else," Benny said and ran off. Pepper looked at Henry and said, "Poor guy." "What's wrong with him?" Marissa said. "He lost his wife earlier in the year. One of the giants squashed her." "Oh no," said Marissa. "I hate them." Henry said, "Hey, hate is a big word, young lady. Remember where our food comes from. And besides, they don't know any better. They think they rule the world. They don't know that they are just in the world as long and as hopeless as we are." Pepper chimed in, hopeless. Speak for yourself. I have nothing but faith for a higher order, for a better life. A life where we don't have to hide in any corners, where we can wander free even when the lights are on, even during the day. Henry laughed. You're dreaming, he said, but I'm going to let you have your dreams. It is Christmas after all. Aw, thanks, babe, Pepper said. Marissa chimed in. Did Santa Mouse bring us any presents? He sure did, said Henry. He sure did. Pepper and Henry looked at each other just then, and just then they both went back in time to the high school dance at Mouse City High, where Henry first got the courage to ask Pepper to dance. The song was Don't You Chase Me Baby by the Vermin Twins, both of their favorite group at the time. The lyrics went, I was working as a waitress in a cheese-filled bar. That much is true. But even then I knew I'd find a way out of traps, either with or without you. Now 5 years later on, I have the world spinning round and given everything that I need, from flowers of love that pours from the streets and dreams raining down in a seed. They danced close, Pepper squeezing her body close to his, both of them young and beautiful and full of so much potential. Remember that time, Pepper said? Henry stopped her. At the high school dance, he said. Yeah, she said, it was magic. Those were the days, Henry said. Those were the days. These are the days, Pepper said, looking over the kids, and then back to Henry. These are the days. Henry thought about running down the field before city life, the crowd cheering him on, catching the ball with his snout, touchdown. Pepper was a cheerleader, and she did a backflip for the people in the stands. Henry rode on the shoulders of his teammates as the cheerleader squad looked at him lovingly, with awe and wonder in their eyes. I was a star, Henry said. You are a star, Pepper said. Yeah, Dad, you're our star, Billy said. Now, what did you get us? We want to open our gifts. Not till we pray, Pepper said. Praise Jesus, Henry said, and Merry Christmas to you all. Part 2. Henry fell on rough times out of high school. He went to All Mouse High and was captain of the football team, was an All Vermin City All-Star, but held himself back from going to college to take care of his family. They moved from the suburbs to New York City and lived in the subway station at 2nd Avenue when they first arrived, getting what they could from the streets and avoiding the feet and the rats and the city cats and all the other dangers of city life presented. One street rat named Pepe befriended and mentored Henry. When his folks died, he found himself isolated under subway cars, looking for any support he could find. Pepe said in his thick New York accent, what you need to do is get into a house and find a hole near a radiator to make it through the winter. Henry scoffed and half showed off for his mentor. I think I'm made for street life, Henry said. I'm not one of these soft house mice I keep hearing about. I like the energy of the street, the rattling subway cars, the screams of old ladies, and the laughter of children. Nonsense, Pepe said. You're a mouse. That's the benefit of being a mouse. You can slip in and out and avoid the traps. A big rat like me won't go unnoticed. They'll bring in the big guns and get me out dead or alive, usually dead. Houses are dangerous for types like me, but you could make it in one. Maybe a nice place in Brooklyn. Ride the F train to J Street and look around. Find yourself a gal and settle down. Raise some kids and celebrate Christmas like a Norman Mousewell picture. The American dream. Henry said, I'll think about it, and scurried off as some of Pepe's other friends started coming down the tracks. Henry got scared and ran. Most didn't understand that a mouse and a rat could be friends. Weeks later, he took Pepe's advice. The winter got cold, and he saw his friend Sam freeze on the street, his face locked in a permanent smile, saying goodbye forever as the light in his eyes shut down. Henry got off the train at J Street. He heard about the brownstones in Brooklyn with radiators in every room. It all seemed too good to be true. But that's when he saw her from the corner of his eye. She went underneath the door in a utility closet at the station, and he followed her in there. In the shadowy darkness, he He felt like he could make her out. Pepper, is that you? She turned around suddenly. Henry? They smiled and heard that old song in both their minds. And in both their hearts, they started dancing like they had all those years ago. Where are you going, he asked. Nowhere special, she said. What about you? I just got here, he said. I was hoping you could maybe show me around. I'd love to, she said, smiling. I'd love to.